Hello everyone, welcome to a new video, a rare video. Income Shark asked me if I would be keen to provide some content for his new newsletter, the Daily Trader. So here it is. I thought I would provide a little bit of a more recent video on Chuvashov Fork, aka C Fork. You'll see, those who know me will have seen me post quite a few of those setups. I like this setup because it allows you to remove all emotions. It provides a bit of a system to find counter trends, enter trades, and I've also added my own little recipe from observation to marry that with a Fibonacci level, which provides a good target slash exit point for those trades. There is very little literature out there. I think there's been a few attempts on TradingView to provide automated scripts to find those entries and exits and to actually drop the forks on the charts. In my experience, they are not very good. I am working on one. We'll see if it comes to fruition. But I think the best way to go about this is to draw them yourself manually. So that's what I'll try to teach you or show you during this video. It's a fairly short video. One thing I want to mention about Chuvashov Fork and why I use them is I find them to be very intuitive. It might not be the case for everyone, but also they seem very mechanical to me. There's something about price going up and breaking a level and then just wanting to fall back to gravity, So if I take this chart, for example, and start drawing a little bit, I'll take the example of Ethereum there back a few days ago. We can see price going up in a steep trend, then going up in a not so steep trend, and then breaking down. And so, yeah, I think it's mechanical because you could see price there fighting hard initially to go up fast. Something breaks around here. Imagine a boulder going up a plank, a wooden plank. The plank breaks here and settles at this angle. Price keeps going up the plank, but eventually gravity is too strong. The plank gives in and price falls back down. That's kind of the little mental diagram I've drawn in my head. Hopefully it helps some of you. We'll see. So how would I go about actually drawing that fork, and how would I use it to trade? So we'll start there in time. One of the first thing I like to do is actually move to HA candles. So a little trick. Oops. A little trick. And I think HA candles helps you to quickly find those pivot points or those lows that you need to draw a fork. You need 3 points for a fork. You need, so let's highlight them. You need a low before either a big push up or a big move down. So I think that's the one up here. You also need a second point for that first trend, and I like to obviously link the lows. We could use this one. Let's zoom in. I don't actually know if this is the low or not. That is not the low. The low is this one. So we'll take this one. And then the third point is, I'll come back to the third point. Let's draw our first trend line by linking those 2 points. There you go. One of the rules I've set myself, and it's worked well, but this is art, not a science, so your mileage may vary. One of the rules I set myself is I don't want that trend line to cut through any week. If it cuts through any week, bottom week, then it's not valid, and I need to find another way of drawing it, or just there's nothing there. So I wanted to make that point. Now to find the third low, we have to find it once the price has broken the trend line. So the third low in that setup would be this one. We can see that the price has come through the trend line and drawn a low there. So for that lateral line, we're going to start here and simply connect that with this. Okay, so now we have a fork. This is a fairly big one. It is valid in my eyes. Let's go back to normal candles and check that it doesn't go through any wick. It doesn't on the left part of the chart. And then when it does on the right part of the chart, that's where it becomes interesting. So it breaks through here. That's a first signal. And then you would have a second one around here where that retest is bearish, is valid, and price breaks down again. So these would be 2 entry points for that fork. There is a little bit of invalidation here, but we'll come to that afterwards. So in terms of targets, I found that adding Fibonacci retracement helps a lot. And I measure the movement from the bottom of the fork all the way to the high within the fork. So the high within the fork is that candle here. Okay, so the move is measured from that arrow, the green arrow in the bottom left, all the way to that purple one at the top there. If the high was, for example, somewhere here, then so be it. You would move that Fibonacci level up. It would move your target up. That's where we are. And so with that setup, we are looking for shorts, which are counter trends, maybe hedging opportunities, or if you want to be contrarian, you're looking for those shorts or change in trend, which we now have here. So let's get rid of this. And you would need maybe to change your time frame to find a better entry, because what you want is the first. I don't know why this keeps bumping around. First candle close after maybe I didn't pick the right chart there because there's a few gaps. But the first confirmation close after a candle break. So I think that's the candle that you would start to trade from. And your target would be 0.618 fib. So down there. Okay. That's the first trade that you would take. You can see it would have worked there, enter uh, the close of this candle, and travel down to the target. See, I picked the wrong chart. On the BTC USDT, sorry, ETH USDT on Binance, this is valid. This week, I've chosen ETH USD on Binance, which is doesn't see as much volume, and this didn't work, so let's take my word for it. It works on the other one. Price goes back up, threatens to push further up, but then you get another breakdown, so you get another chance at that trade from here down to target. So that's the second one. And then a bit more difficult when you have a retest, which is unsuccessful. You might need another element to enter your trade, but I'd say this candle there would be a good entry, and again, down to that level. So on that very specific setup, three opportunities to enter. It won't always be like that. Sometimes you just get the one, and then that's it. So what happens after the price hits targets? Again, from observation, more often than not, in a strong uptrend, you would hit 0.618 and then resume uptrend. Hasn't been the case for this past week. We've seen a lot more sideways movement. But guess what? You can still go and use the fork in that little drift down. So if we remove all this, let's go and hunt for other movements, other setups. All right, so I've changed chart because the other one on Coinbase, sorry, on Binance wasn't great. So we're now on Bitstamp, and we're hunting for those new setups. So big drop down here. You're thinking straight away there might be something that we can do. So let's switch to HA candles. Ah, sorry, I'm having to do this on the iPad and I hate it. But we're gonna get through this. Right, so here we are. HA candles, so it gives you a high here. And then as you remember, we can't go through this week. There's another high, so that's the next high. That's the line. And then the next high after that line, so well, it's not really accurate, but you know, I'm trying my best here. Let's see if I can move this. There you go, for extra accuracy. So the next high is the one up here, and let's see what that does. There you go. You would have a signal to long after this close. So if we switch back to normal candles, come on, you can do it. If we switch back to normal candles, that's what it gives us. You can see the low is well below the fork, so that's kind of a useless setup. I'll draw it for consistency from this top here, select the arrow to that low here to measure the move, and you don't get a signal. By the time you get a signal, you already passed the target. So fine, this one's useless. We'll move to the next one. Next one, we've had, I'm doing this right, am I? The next one, we've had a big push up with the price here. So we're looking for a bearish fork. So let's go and try to draw this. I won't switch to HA candles just to try to be a bit faster. This is how I would draw this, and I invite you to go and load a chart, any time frame, any asset, and go and start drawing those as well. The high. So, you know, as a reminder, this is your first point, this is your second point as it's the next low, and then your third point is here. It's the third low after price has gone through here, right? So your 3 points for your fork, and then the high in that fork area. I take this one, and I use that to drop my Fibonacci levels, which, as you can see, are already set up to just draw 0.618, so it's already customized. And the trade is entered after this drop, I would say, up to here. There would have been a fair element of volatility there, so a difficult trade to take, this one, I'd say, but worth trying anyway. And in this instance, it did bounce on 0.618 and just retrace the entire move all the way down. So moving on, I'll keep doing that until see if we can catch up current time frame. I'll try to speed it up a bit. So this is our previous high. I'll start here. The next one is there. And then we would go for something. This is an option. It's not my favorite one. I think I would take that as an option. To enter a trade after this one. And if I drop the Fibonacci levels, so that would be here. Again, not an ideal setup, because we can see that after entering the trade, you would have had to wait a very long time to hit your target. But you know, things still works. If you have the proper risk management in place, you might have been able to capture this one. Anyway, moving on. So let's remove this. The next one to look for is a bearish one after this move up, there. So let's see if we can draw that. The low here. The next one is up there. Actually, you know what? You could have drawn this one from here to here and here to there. That would have been valid. It didn't provide any good signal. So the one I think I did draw posted is this from here to here. This one is interesting. It has a retest. And then the Fibonacci for the target. Apologies for the accuracy there. I'm doing this again on the iPad. It's a bit annoying. I would have started at that one, I guess. There would have been actually difficult to enter the trade because the first candle confirmation, actually depending on how you draw this, and it's good to use alerts for when the price breaks your lines. So zoom in a bit. Let's see, let's try to be thorough. I'll move this to HA candles. Obviously, it's going to bump us again, but that provides you a little bit more accuracy. Yeah, so that would have been the one. And I don't think there's a candle close below until that big one there. So difficult one to take, but in this occasion, you have a bit of a retest here. So if you had been paying attention to the chart, then at that time, you would have had maybe a second opportunity to enter. And we'll carry on, remove these. So you can see that big drop next. I'll stay on the HA candles. All right, so that's your local high. The next one is there. We are going through a candle here. Let's double check if that's still the case on the normal candles. Yeah, it is the case. So what I told you earlier, I do not want to be going through wicks as we are here. So I'm gonna have to move that line to respect that condition. This is a nightmare, this thing. All right. So I can't touch this high because I'm going through those candles. The next high I can aim for is this one. That's not ideal. That doesn't give you all that much. Okay. There you go. That's what I would have drawn, making sure I'm not going through again that candle. We are back in the science, not science, but art territory. This is a high in that downtrend. It's not a great one, but I would have drawn that from experience. So that's why I'm saying go and practice it for yourself. So the next one would have been from that week down there, and then for target the fibs, and in this time, yeah, not great setup, not great outcome. It never reaches. So difficult to draw this one and difficult to trade it as a consequence. All right. So I think we're getting close to current time. I'm gonna go ahead and skip forward a little bit because we have quite a few more. This one I like the setup because it starts with a big wick and then a big drop down. So this is the next. Oops. This is the next high. The first one was here. So we've drawn the line and then started from here. The next high after the break is there. Okay. So we go and draw that line. A bit messy, this one, but it does work. What we see here, so let's drop fib as well. Reminder, I take the low, the local low here for the limit to my Fibonacci level. And the trade would have been one of two tries. So entering for long here, then probably would have been invalidated, around here, depending on your trading style. But then you do get a bit of a retest in that area. and another close above the fork here to enter long, and that takes you to the target eventually. The very next trade would have been to use that uptrend and look for a short. So starting down here, I think the HA candles could be useful here, actually. There you go. So that's where HA candles come very handy because it wasn't clear which low to aim for. But now we can see we start here, we have one here, we have one here, and we have another one there. So let's see which ones are relevant. So the first one from there to here makes sense. And then the second one from here to this one. So we can get rid of this. This is not relevant. There you go. And then next bit is we drop Fibo. There you go. So this one, you notice, a lot easier to draw, and I think the outcome is a lot easier as well. Something to keep in mind if you're struggling to draw your fork, then the setup is a bit wishy-washy, shall we say. So a little fake out here probably would have been stopped. The next one is here, close below, and a nice retest to then travel all the way down to Fibonacci. So that works, that's clean. I like these ones. I hope by now you get the gist. I'll jump straight to where we are now. So what am I looking at now today? We've had that big impulse up, thanks to Powell, I guess. And now the market is waiting to see what's happening this weekend. I think if you're long, that's a good position to be in. You know, people will look at this and think this is consolidation, this is a new range. Yeah, makes sense. But there is some downside risk. What does it look like? When does it come relevant? Well, let's figure it out. I think using the fork is a good way to work that downside risk and see when to get your hedges in, if at all. So we'll start. Let's take HA candles one more time. No, good try. There you go. I might move to 1H. Yeah, I like 1H. Again, this works on most time frames. I've drawn and posted monthly ones in the past. Obviously, the risk is higher. The risk of failure is higher on those longer ones. But it does work, and it works on all assets. So let's start with our lows. This one's going to be interesting. This one there, and then there's this here. So if you remember the rule, I do not want to be going through weeks. This one goes through a week. You know, it goes through that second one here. So I don't like that. What I would do in that situation, and that tells me that's not the bottom I want to be using. So, oh my God, there you go. There you go. What I would do is actually start here. And that would also mean that the Fibonacci level that I use would start from that level and not the lower candle. So that's the first one. And then the second one is more straightforward. This is it here. And price is already breaking down. So is it? Oof, it's just on the verge. And then Fibonacci is this. So by the time you see that video, I think that price movement will have happened. I might even post it on X, so you can actually follow the development. So the trade here is, well, the trade is on, really. It wouldn't be surprising to see a little bit of a retest higher up here, and then for price to drop, or it could come down straight away. So risk management there is important. That we have the target, yeah. So, you know, there's an easy almost 5% there to be captured. 5%, I think, if we get the retest a bit higher. And that's with a target for ETH of 4,500 roughly. So we'll see if that plays out. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have any feedback, just reach out on X. It's actually a bit longer than I thought it would be, but I think it's worth diving into. Happy to answer questions. As I said, hit me up and speak to you soon.